If you're joining us, today's show is one of those days where the headlines look really bullish, but when you slow down and really dig underneath, there are a lot of contradictions in the market right now. So let's start with the big picture. Stocks are pushing toward record highs yet again. The S&P 500 is strong, tech is leading, and on the surface, everything looks like a healthy market. But at the same time, the geopolitical situation has not been resolved. Tensions around Iran are still there. Oil supply is still uncertain, and yet markets keep going higher for some reason. So, the big question we are asking today is simple. What is the market seeing that maybe everyone else is missing? From there, we move into crypto because stable coins are having a moment right now. Circle surged nearly 20% in a single day, and this move is not random at all. It's being driven by regulation. A new compromise around the Clarity Act is starting to shape how the industry will actually work going forward. And for the first time in a while, regulation is not holding crypto back. It's actually giving a direction. Then we've got one of the wildest corporate stories in the week. So GameStop is reportedly trying to acquire eBay. So a smaller company is trying to buy the much bigger one, funded with debt and also funded with stock. So this is not just about a deal. This is a high risk bet on transformation, and the market reaction already tells you something that not everyone is convinced. After that, we'll go deeper into crypto and geopolitics because there is a major investigation into an exchange called Nobitex. And the claim is very serious that crypto may be helping a sanctioned economy move money globally. So, this is not just a crypto story. This is about how digital assets interact with the global financial system and whether crypto is becoming a parallel system outside traditional control. Then we shift into AI, and this is where things gets interesting. Wall Street is not just investing in AI anymore, they're actually building with it. A $1.5 billion joint venture led by firms like Blackstone and Goldman Sachs is now forming to deploy AI directly into the business, not as a tool, but actually as infrastructure. And at the same time, we are hearing warnings from the highest levels that AI is now a real risk to financial stability, not in the future, but right now. Because the same technology that powers innovation can also power attacks faster than any human system can react. We'll touch on regulation again, and this time from Canada, because they are moving toward banning Bitcoin ETFs. So, not banning Bitcoin itself, but controlling assets. That tells you where governments are focusing right now, which is not exactly stop crypto, but control how people interact with it. And finally, we'll close with one of the biggest tensions in crypto market right now. So a new direct conflict involving Justin Sun and Well Liberty Financial now turning into a lawsuit. And this story highlights something very unusual, something very important. The difference between centralized systems and what Bitcoin was actually built on. So today's show is really packed, markets at highs, but risk still building. AI accelerating, regulation stepping in, and crypto sitting right in the middle of it. All right, so without further ado, let's get straight into the first news because we have to take a look at the stock market that is keep pushing higher even as the geopolitical situation remains unsolved, and why this disconnect matters more than people think. So actually, take a look at this chart. Like the stock market keep breaking new all-time high. Why? While a war is unfolding, that is usually like this is very unpredictable. So what is the market seeing that everyone is missing? So we're gonna take a look at few figures. Of course, we have to pay attention with the S&P 500 is at all-time high. So like it's sitting at 7,200 point for the S&P 500. If we hop on to SPY, being the ETF of S&P 500, it just hit $722 this week. And if we hop onto the Nasdaq Composite, same happened. It's up 21% from its recent low. So right now sitting at 25,000 point. But just like in late March, it was sitting at 20,000 points. So it was up quite a lot. It's the longest winning strike in over a decade for the Nasdaq. So think about it. Like we had a 10% drop and a full recovery in just 6 weeks. But here's the problem. The situation in Iran has not been resolved yet. So Donald Trump said the war was over on Friday, then by Monday, troops were sent to Hormuz. So what is really going on under the surface? Like, are markets simply ignoring risk, or are investors betting on something bigger? Well, I would say it turns out it comes down to like three forces that is driving the rally, particularly in the stock market. Okay, first narrative is the tackle trade. So short for Trump always chickens out. Wall Street believes that when economic pressure builds, policy will have to reserve one way or the other. So investors keep buying even during uncertainty time because simply speaking, the US government can't afford for the stock market to go down and having because like I would say the US government, the only power they have is the USD dominance. So really can't afford for the economy to go down. Second reason I would say is when it comes to the AI, artificial intelligence. Tech stocks are now make up nearly half of the S&P 500, and they are running on their own momentum, independent of geopolitics completely. That reason is when it comes to earnings. So every major tech company this week, we cover the Roxanne TV, whether it's Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, they all beat expectations, meaning revenue up and profits really strong. That gives the market a reason to keep pushing higher. But not everything is moving up though, because like when you take a look at the Dow Jones, so Dow Jones industrial average is still below its all-time high. The reason why there is a deviation, because as I mentioned, like the S&P 500 50% of them is from stock. But if we look at Dow Jones, like it usually tracks the industrial companies, so not tech. Maybe that's the reason why Dow Jones is not enjoying the rally that most of the US stocks are. And that tells you something. Like this rally is not like really broad. It's very concentrated and it's just driven by tech, by AI. And here's the disconnect. So gas price, we cover there's lots of time here on Roxanne TV. Of course, it's still really high. Jet fuel nearly double. Airlines like Spirit are close to shutting down. So everyday people are feeling the cost of this war, but the stock market is obviously not. And here's the question that the market hasn't answered yet. What if the war doesn't end? Because right now, everything is priced on one assumption that the Hormuz were going to reopen and oil price going to come down again. But if that doesn't happen, the math changes fast. And to be fair, I was quite surprised to see the reaction of the stock market as well. Because like at their graphs like this, so market declines have recovered faster and faster. So like seem for the S&P 500 seems like we don't get much chance to take a break. It's almost like an up only. Like to be fair, we didn't really see any huge dump for the S&P 500 other than 2008. The COVID one wasn't very serious because that was like a very rapid, almost V-shaped recovery for the S&P 500. So like yeah, dollar cost averaging in S&P, it makes sense. But speaking of the unstoppable stock market, there is another ticker symbol that I feel like you guys really would want to know and very intrigued to know the ticker symbol because it pumped 20% in a single day. Of course, I'm talking about Circle. So stablecoins are exploding right now. And Circle, take a look at this chart. So pump 20%. That's very generous. And this is not random. This is actually regulation driving the rally. So we are seeing separate example why Circle is pumping, because like for the S&P 500, it was mostly AI and tech. But for Circle or stablecoin bracket as general, it's more because of the regulation. So one of the, of course, like Circle had a really good day. If any of the viewers are a holder of Circle, then big congratulations to you guys. Like one of the strongest performers in the entire US market. So question, what's behind this move? Actually, there's a key breakthrough in the US crypto regulation, that being the Clarity Act, just reached a compromise over the weekend. And here's the important part. The new version of the bill says crypto platforms cannot pay interest on idle stablecoin deposits. That business, of course, like would stay with banks because they're trying to protect the local banks in America. But it is still not a full ban. Platforms can still offer rewards if users are actually using the product. For example, maybe they use it for trading or transfer or staking. So you could be like, what does that do? Like, what does it mean, right? It sounds very confusing. Well, what it certainly does is that it removes uncertainty. For years, the biggest risk in crypto was regulation, but right now, that risk is starting to clear. And the biggest winners is, of course, Circle had a really great day yesterday, and also Coinbase, because they are already playing by the rules. They are the a good student at school in the US. And at the same time, like Circle's core business is booming. Of course, the core business is the stable coins, or USDC. If we take a look at the market cap of USDC, it's sitting at $78 billion. So it's actually a record high. That means more reserves. And when there's more reserves for USDC or Circle, that means more interest would go to the company Circle, and of course there will be stronger earnings. But there's also a new story forming, which is AI and stable coins. Because like USDC is becoming almost the base currency for on-chain transactions, especially you from the West. Like in Asia, we still use a lot of USDT, but USDC is definitely growing. Not only because of the regional reason that USDC being more regulated, being the good boys, but also, we are seeing the dynamics of AI agents because we cover that extensively here on Roxham TV, how more AI agents are entering without us even knowing. Yesterday, we just covered that AI agent is creating a business, got the whole iOS tax. Basically, they can hire people, real people, and hire real employees in the US, but everything without the human interaction, without the human loop, and AI agents that just handle everything for you. So, in other words speaking, I do believe there will be a swarm of AI agents entering our world, and all these AI agents they specialize in certain tasks, and they have to trade with each other. And of course, when these agents are trading and doing transaction with each other, the first thing that we could pop up is definitely not having a bank account, because like a bank settlement could take days, especially on the weekend. It's very annoying. But crypto transaction is almost instant. So like stablecoin, it makes sense. So it also makes sense why USDC is booming. But it's not just Circle. Coinbase is up 7%. That is because like crypto related stocks all moving higher. At the same time, we are seeing Bitcoin breaking out above $80,000. But let's go back to the Clarity Act. So like this law also creates pressure. So smaller crypto platforms that rely on high interest products to attract users, they may now really feeling the struggle to maybe going forward, because the industry is changing, moving away from high yield products and toward financial infrastructure. Even traditional banks are watching this very closely. Analysts say this bill could actually help banks because it reduces deposit outflows and gives them a clearer role in digital assets. And it makes sense because like this Clarity Act in a way is also protecting the banks. but kind of want to offer some leeway for stable coins, for Coinbase and Circle, those type of new companies. But like, of course, we're not there yet. Like this bill still has a long way to go. Like we still need to get the committee approval, a full vote, and final signing, and then regulators still need to write the rules. But the bottom line here is regulation is no longer killing crypto, it's shaping it. And right now, stablecoins are emerging as the biggest winner. So speaking of winner in the stock market, like the first segment of today, I do want to just focus on stocks, and then we're slowly going to dive into AI and geopolitics and also crypto, of course. So there's another really bold move that we haven't seen in the market in a very long time, especially this year. So GameStop, take a look at this statement that they issued. GameStop is trying to buy eBay. Yes, you had that right. Like a smaller company is going after a giant. And here's the deal. GameStop is offering $125 per share for eBay. It's going to be half in cash, half in stock. But if we take a look at the size difference, that is even more interesting. So GameStop is worth around 10.6 billion US dollars, and when it comes to eBay, is worth $48 billion. That's nearly 4 times bigger compared to GameStop. So this is not just a deal. This is a really bold move by GameStop. A smaller player like GameStop is trying to take over a much bigger one, a 4 times bigger than itself. Now, here's how they plan to fund that money. Like again, like take a look at the number. That is a huge difference, man. So they are planning to, there will be around $20 billion in debt from TD Bank, and the rest would be through the new GameStop shares. So it's leverage plus dilution. This is coming directly from the CEO of GameStop, so Ryan Cohee. The same person who turned GameStop from a dying retailer into a meme stock icon. Now his pitch is quite simple, which is to cut $2 billion in costs within the next 12 months and turn this combined business into a real competitor to Amazon. So like, how is the market reacting? You might ask. If we go back to the chart, if we take a look at the eBay stock first, how about that? It's actually up quite a lot. So today is up 5%. Another is up like 9% in pre-market. So investors, in other words speaking, they actually like the bid. But however, if we go to GameStop, you'll see a different dynamic. So it's pointing sharply lower after jumping like 6% on Friday. And that tells you what the markets are thinking. Like market believe that eBay is getting a really good deal because like the stock is hovering around like $110, while GameStop is offering $125. So for eBay, of course, that is a good deal. But for GameStop, however, they are taking a lot of risk. Like I just mentioned, they are taking that leverage and also the stock dilution. Of course, there will be a lot of risk, and investors of GameStop are not going to like the idea. So the real question is, what the hell is the CEO thinking of GameStop? Why is he proposing this idea? But to be fair though, like he's already done something most people thought it was impossible. Like he turned a failing retail business into one of the most talked about stocks in the world. But this move, this is a completely different level. This is not about hype anymore. This is execution. So, question, is the CEO being a genius, or is this step a little bit too far? Because if this works, GameStop doesn't just survive, it becomes a serious player in the whole global e-commerce business. I would say I really do see why the CEO would pull a move like this, because like GameStop right now, I don't know if you guys follow, is actually a failing business already. Yes, they have some Bitcoin, they're buying some Bitcoin, but like a long-term wise, it's not a sustainable income. Of course, investment wise is different. There's different concepts here. Uh, that's one thing. Uh, that it makes sense, like the risk and reward. It makes sense why the CEO is pulling a move like this. But at the same time, I also believe like e-commerce is having a down period. Like Amazon is not like generating from retail business as much as before. So like entering the market right now, especially in the e-commerce sector, I mean, I have my doubt. But let me know if my analysis is correct, if you think, if you agree with me or disagree with me. Anyway, so we'll take a short break from here. When we come back, we are diving into a basically investigation by Rosa. I find that very interesting because like there happened to be a crypto exchange around the world using the power and doing a little bit of be the backdoor of a sanctioned country. So do stay with us if you're intrigued to know the details.
This is Alex. Alex spends most of his time thinking like a trader, still deciding what to do with his Bitcoin. While Alex waits for the perfect entry, this is Laura. She's watching the S&P drop. Everyone is suddenly a macro expert. She doesn't panic. This is Tom. No screens, no noise, no stress. While Tom focuses on his swing, his Bitcoin focuses on compounding. Because Bitcoiners don't want more dollars. They want more Bitcoin.
I want more Bitcoin.
The best move is letting your Bitcoin work while you plan the next one. Grow by Roxum. One currency, one place.
Oh, I forgot to mention, dividends on Roxome are paid in Bitcoin. Stretch your income, 11.5% paid in Bitcoin.
Stretch your income to 11.5, get 11.5 in Bitcoin and Roxome. 11.5%. 11.5%.
Welcome back to Roxham TV, and thanks for sticking around with us after the break. Now we're diving into an investigation. What if I told you one crypto exchange may be quietly helping a sanctioned country move money around the world? So, not millions of dollars, but potentially billions of dollars we're talking about. So, there is a major investigation by Reuters have discovered something really big. Iran's largest crypto exchange, so Nobitex, may be acting as a bridge between a sanctioned economy and the global financial system. And here's where it gets very, very sensitive. So we take a look at the graph here. This the actually one of the most powerful families in Iran, and the founders of Nobitex are reportedly linked. Basically, the family we're talking about is like a Karasi family. They have the deep, really deep political connections, ties to the country's leadership. Now, if we think about the context, Iran is heavily sanctioned, no doubt there, cut off from the global platforms, cut off from the global banking, no access to SWIFT. So what do people do? They could simply turn to crypto, right? Novitex became the main gateway. So they have over 11 million users, handling up to 70% of Iran's crypto activity. But here's the key accusation. Investigators say this platform may have processed transactions linked to sanctions entity, including Iran's central bank and even the Revolutionary Guard. So how does it work? Like how does the system actually work? You might ask. A simple idea is it's like there's a very this is a simple idea, but like there is a complex execution. So money enters crypto and then moves through multiple wallets, get mixed around, then exits outside the traditional banking system. And this is the problem. Like crypto doesn't care about border, and also the beauty of crypto. It doesn't check passports, and once funds are moving on chain, tracking them becomes very difficult. But here's where it gets complicated. Novitex says they are a private company. They deny working with the government. They say any illegal activity happened without their knowledge. But to be fair, analysts also agree on this. It's really hard to separate government activity from everyday users because millions of normal people also rely on the platform. Now, if we add another layer, during the recent conflict, even when internet access was restricted, somehow Novitex kept operating and still processing over $100 million in transactions. This actually suggests something much bigger, not just an exchange, but a like part of a parallel financial system, one that operates outside Western control. And this is exactly why US regulators are concerned, because crypto could be used to bypass sanctions at scale. We're talking about billions of dollars, potentially billions of dollars. So U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren called this again a major warning sign. This is actually not new coming from Elizabeth Warren, but she's saying digital assets are becoming an alternative to the U.S.-led financial system. But to be fair, that's the whole point of crypto, right? But yet again, this is not black and white. For many Iranians people, crypto is not just evasion. It's literally just survival. The currency is collapsing. Inflation is high. They need access to global market. So here is the paradox we have to think about. This is the same system that helps everyday people also create opportunities, but at the same time create opportunities for government as well, because governments are controlled by a bunch of people, right? So investigators say the exchange used multiple tactics. For example, they would change wallet addresses, or maybe encourage users to split transactions, and even developing tools to make tracking harder. Some estimates suggest hundreds of millions of dollars may have flowed through the platform, though the exact numbers are still debated. And here's the bigger question. Why hasn't Novitex been sanctioned? So far, we still don't have the clear answer. It could be the possible reasons is that maybe it's too complex to do that. It could be lack of proof, or simply because if we shut this down, it would also hurt millions of civilians. So if we zoom out, this is not just about Iran. This is about what crypto really is. So crypto is a tool. It's neutral by design, but very powerful in impact. Because if crypto can bypass sanctions, that changes geopolitics and challenges the dollar system. And that raises a bigger question overall. Is crypto just a financial innovation, or is it quietly becoming a parallel global system? That's something I'll leave it for you guys to decide. So let's shift gears a little bit, and I do want to dive into an AI company. So not just AI, but Wall Street is making massive move into AI. And this time, they're not just investing and throwing money around, they're actually building in AI. So Anthropic is finalizing a $1.5 billion deal. a joint venture with some of the biggest names you could think of on Wall Street. So we are talking about Blackstone, Goldman Sachs, and other major firms. So this is not small money by all means. And here's what the how the funding looks like. So Anthropic, Blackstone, and Hellman and Friedman, each putting around $300 million. Goldman Sachs alone are coming in with roughly $150 million. So you could be asking like, what is this new AI company they're building? This is actually a standalone business focused on one thing, which is to sell AI tools to private equity backed companies. And here's the detail. This is not just software sales. Anthropic engineers will be embedded directly inside the company, working closely with clients and staying connected to Anthropic's core research team. So this changes the model. Instead of just selling AI tools, they are delivering some like full AI transformation from inside the business. And they already have customers lined up. The first users will be companies owned by these investment firms, so private equity portfolios across different industries, and then they expand outward. This is actually like another proof that Wall Street is really serious about AI because think about this. Private equity firms control hundreds of companies. If they inject AI into all of them at the same time, that's of course not adoption, that's acceleration. So, our last question, I'll leave you guys to decide whether AI is indeed in the bubble when all these tech giants, all these companies are throwing money trying to build something great. Are we near the end? Is Michael Berry correct? Or it's just at the beginning of something great from the AI industry? All right, so we'll take a short break from here. When we come back, of course, I'm bringing you more AI news, but this time there is something scary and perhaps is particularly scary for banks as well because AI is also becoming a threat for banks. So do stay with us after the break.
This is Alex. Alex spends most of his time thinking like a trader, still deciding what to do with his Bitcoin. While Alex waits for the perfect entry, this is Laura. She's watching the S&P drop. Everyone is suddenly a macro expert. She doesn't panic. This is Tom. No screens, no noise, no stress. While Tom focuses on his swing, his Bitcoin focuses on compounding. Because Bitcoiners don't want more dollars. They want more Bitcoin.
I want more Bitcoin.
The best move is letting your Bitcoin work while you plan the next one. Grow by Roxum. One currency, one place.
Welcome back to Roxham TV and thanks for sticking around with us after the break. We are now diving into more AI story. And right now, artificial intelligence is no longer just some tech story for tech-savvy people. It's now also becoming a threat to the global banking system. And this warning is coming straight from the top. So we have U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent went on Fox News this weekend, and he said it very clearly, which is that AI is becoming a real risk to financial stability. Take a listen to what he said.
You called a meeting. Some people said it was an emergency meeting to talk about the banks and AI after a breach of Anthropic. What can you tell us about this issue? Is this a systemic issue? Should we be worried about AI hacking our bank accounts?
You should, Maria. And the U.S. government has gotten involved. The AI companies, they are working with us. What we've had in the past month was a step change in the power of one large language model, but we're going to see it from the other AI companies. And it's important, Maria, that the U.S. stays ahead here. Imagine if China or some non-state actor were ahead of us. So what we are determined to do is work with our AI companies to allow them to continue innovate, but our charge to the U.S. government is maintaining safety. And there is a very important calculus here between innovation and safety. And at the U.S. government, we're going to make sure that things stay safe. Chair Powell and I called the bank executives into town. It was a little less dramatic than it seemed at the time because they were already in D.C. So we got them in person rather than convening a call later in the week. And the banks are working on their resiliency, and the U.S. government is working side by side with everyone. And again, very, very important for the U.S. to continue to dominate here, set the global standard, and maintain our lead.
All right, there you go. That's what the US Treasury Secretary said himself on Force News. But what really matters is what has been happening behind the scenes, because while that warning sounds very dramatic, the response has already started. So US regulators, the Federal Reserve, and major banks, they are already in coordination mode. They are talking direct and direct communication, real-time planning, system upgrades happening right now, all focused on one thing, which is resilience. So why is this happening in the first place? So officials point to a recent leap in AI capabilities. They are calling it a step change, and that's very important because this isn't just better chatbots. This also means AI can now find vulnerabilities faster. They can launch attacks automatically and scale them globally in seconds. So this is no longer about just like some small fraud cases. It's much bigger than that. So the real question now is, can the financial system survive machine speed attacks? And here's where it gets intense. Banks are now fighting AI with AI. They are building automated defenses to stop automated attacks. It's an arms race inside the system. At the same time, policymakers are walking a very tightrope. They want innovation, but at the same time, they also need security, and they cannot fall behind in the global AI race. Because if they do, this isn't just about hacks anymore. It becomes something much bigger, which is more a systematic risk that is a vulnerability at the core of the financial system. And this exposed something deeper. There's a deeper problem here. Modern banking still relies on very old foundations. So you still have a bank account, you still have your password, a very centralized access point. And let's be honest here, your 4-digit bank password is not built for this feature. And there has been, I know, so much noise lately about Bitcoin and quantum risk, but actually, I would argue, in reality, traditional banking is the first in line because quantum computing targets exactly what banks rely on today. So that is centralized systems, that is locking credentials and weak points that can be cracked. And the real story here is quite simple. AI is not just changing finance, it's testing whether the system itself can survive what's coming next. Okay, speaking of what's coming next, let's also dive into another story of today. So we now have to get into the land of Canada because Canada is about to make a major move on crypto, and it could impact how everyday people buy Bitcoin. We are talking about a potential ban on crypto and also Bitcoin ATMs. Yes, like when I say those Bitcoin ATMs is exactly those machines you would see in a mall or gas stations or convenience store. So here's what's happening in Canada. The Canadian government is pushing new legislation to crack down on financial crime. And at the center of it, they are creating a brand new financial crimes agency. You might ask, like, why they are pulling this move right now in Canada. Well, that's because a public investigation found something kind of worrying. Canada does not have a strong or coordinated system to fight money laundering. And this is where Bitcoin ATMs come in. Officials are now calling them a major tool used by scammers. So here's how it works. So some fraudster in Canada, they will pretend to be the police or government officials. They pressure victims, usually older people in this case, to urgently deposit cash into a Bitcoin ATM. And of course, once that money is sent, it's almost impossible to recover. Now, if we listen to this, like Canada has nearly 4,000 crypto ATMs. That is one of the highest levels in the world relative to its population. And since 2022, over 2.4 billion Canadian dollars has been lost to fraud. But here's the scariest part. Officials say only about 5 to 10% of that fraud cases are even reported. In other words speaking, the real number could be much bigger than that. So yes, this crackdown is targeting a real problem. It's actually protecting people who are very usually vulnerable, especially older individuals who are often the main targets of the scams. But there's an other side of this story. Bitcoin ATMs are not just risky, they are very expensive. Like, let me know if you guys have ever used a Bitcoin ATM before, because the fees can go as high as 10% or even 20%. That makes no sense to buy Bitcoin using an ATM, and it's actually the worst ways to buy Bitcoin, in my opinion. So, what happens, you could ask, if these machines disappear in Canada? Does that mean Bitcoin adoption will slow down? I would say not really, because right now, who would actually go to ATM to buy Bitcoin, right? I mean, it's 2026. Come on, people. People have other options. You can buy Bitcoin through regulated exchanges. You can buy it on apps or even peer to peer. Like, point being, there are so many ways to buy much cheaper Bitcoin that you don't have to pay 10 to 20% of that fee. So the key takeaway, okay, let's go back to Canada. Like, this is not about banning Bitcoin. It's more about like controlling how people access it. Bitcoin would not go away, and definitely, for sure, will not go away. Like the access point just involved. The reason why I would say Bitcoin will definitely not go away, because like we have been around, so Bitcoin has been around for 17 years, and during this 17 years, there are numerous articles coming out, numerous criticisms say Bitcoin will not last, it's just a bubble. But in just 17 years, Bitcoin already proved all the criticism wrong, and it's definitely gonna stay here for a very, very long time. All right, so speaking of some like drama in crypto, there is a very interesting drama going on. And when it comes to drama, of course, the main center of it is going to be Justin Sun. The reason why we're covering this again, because we have a major escalation in one of the most controversial stories right now. So this story is basically Justin Sun versus a Donald Trump linked crypto project. And right now, it's becoming a lawsuit, an official lawsuit. So here's the latest. The team behind Liberty Financial, or WLFI, just fired back publicly. So they posted on X, they are suing Justin Sun for defamation. So according to WLFI, they claim Justin Sun launched a coordinated smear campaign. And they say he refused to stop even after being shown the facts. Now, here's where it gets interesting. So, Liberty Financial, that's Justin Sun's entity, bought tokens back in late 2024, but later they allegedly made a prohibited transaction, including transfers to Binance. And according to WLFI, that trigger what the basically that's what trigger the asset freeze. The company is standing on its ground for WLFI. They are saying the freeze function was already disclosed. Justin Sun know exactly what he was doing. It was in terms from basically in the terms from day one. And now they are framing this as protection, protecting the project and also protecting its integrity. Justin Sun, of course, he didn't stay quiet. He responded almost immediately, calling the lawsuit basically a madness PR stunt. And he says he's ready to fight this in court. So where we are right now, so we have a lawsuit versus countersuit. We have narrative versus narrative. And here's the very uncomfortable truth. Like, this is not a clean story at all. Like, Justin Sun is not a perfect victim. He has a long history of controversy, whether it's like regulatory scrutiny or wrecking people with some pump and dump schemes for the token. So he has very aggressive token strategies. In a way, I would say he's really good at marketing because it's really difficult to launch so many pump and dumps without and still manage to get away. Let's just put it that way. And reports say he spent tens of thousands of dollars to gain access inside Donald Trump orbit. So when this explodes, the optics are very brutal. But if we zoom up for a sec, like because this is big, much bigger than just Justin Sun, you now have a project, a crypto project linked to political power being accused of something serious. We are talking about freezing user assets, controlling who can move funds and who cannot. And meanwhile, retail investors are stuck, locked in positions they can't even exit. So if we take a look at the token price of WLFI, of course, like if we zoom out to maximum time frame, it's down 72%. I'm so glad that when this thing was out, because I was talking about that on Gemstream Crypto and also in Roxham TV when it was out. Like I told my community to stay away. Well, I didn't advise them to stay away. I just like telling what I would do. I chose to stay away because it's very uncertain, it's very volatile, and judging from the pattern of Donald Trump, because he did launch some meme coins, so the Trump meme coin, the Millennium meme coin, and then they all almost like crashed to nothing, crashed to like a penny to a dollar, not even a penny. So like the pattern that I spotted and also the WLFI, it wasn't like very practical in terms of a DeFi platform. You can't really use a DAX, yet they are. It's just more like a marketing and everything would just slam the name Donald Trump and that it will do really well. So looks like what I did, like I chose to stay away because there's still so much uncertainty around this type of project. And I made a right call. So I'm very glad. And I'm very glad that I told that to my community that I'm staying away. I hope you guys didn't touch this token. Definitely not going to touch that with a 10-foot hole. Because I remember I was watching all these videos on YouTube and there was a lot of influencers, a lot of YouTubers were shielding this project. They were very optimistic, very bullish about this token. I wonder if they indeed would think so, or they were just like hyping it for certain reason, if they have any incentives. I don't know, but I remember I was and that was like hovering around 20 cents. And to be fair, like on 6th of September 2025, it dropped to like 18 cents. I remember watching his videos that he's scooping out a little bit more because like we zoom out, actually zoom in to September last year. I remember he mentioned the market maker was like get in at around 20 cents. So there was like strong support around 20 cents. But we zoom out, looks like the well, I don't know where the market maker went. But like, anyways, I hope you guys didn't touch this token at all. And I just want to draw comparisons between this token and also Bitcoin, because like Bitcoin doesn't work like this. Like, no one can just freeze your coins. There is no admin keys, no central control, no government's drama whatsoever. Just code and just ownership, and somehow it just works. That's the beauty of Bitcoin. All right, so speaking of Bitcoin, let's also take a look at the where Bitcoin is standing right now. So sitting at $80,000. To be fair, like not gonna lie, I was unexpected. Like this move, this rally might be stronger than I originally thought. But zooming out, just still nothing changed. Like we are like we still hit all the majority point that we are thinking when it comes to the 4-year cycle. We saw the exact top that happened on 6th of October. And usually, because like not only this, it only makes sense that we okay, if we zoom out, actually let me go to the weekly chart. So if we take a look at the weekly chart, like we went from a bottom of 15K, zooming out on weekly chart, like there was almost a uh, not much pullback. So of course, like there's some pullback in betweens, but it's not like very significant if you know what I mean. So like this pump, it was like okay, exactly 1,064 days, like a little over 3 years. So it makes sense to see like a pump like this for so long, for 1,000 days, and to have like a maybe a little bit longer bear market. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense to have a no pullback at all. Like, this is not a healthy bull market, a healthy cycle, not necessarily like a bull market, a bear market. It's not like a healthy cycle at all, not having pullbacks. I mean, like S&P, not gonna lie, that is a different case, because like the U.S. government care nothing about basically they don't care anything other than the S&P 500, other than the U.S. dominance, other than the stock market. Because I'll argue, like, okay, U.S. is non-stop printing money, we know that for sure. But like, because they can non-stop printing money and they can basically push their bills to other countries to foot that bill, the US like doesn't have to pay. They can just like keep printing money non-stop and make other countries to pay for their own debt. That's the only power that they have. So they have, I would argue, the US government have nothing but money. They don't have like a much labor compared to other countries, maybe even compared to China. So like the GDP, maybe they focus on tech rather than like other practical stuff compared to China. That's the issue. So for S&P, you can't. I feel like you can't really draw ties between S&P and Bitcoin. Bitcoin is like more, I would say, more pure in a way. Like, it's not like very controlled by the US government in a way. Let me know if you agree with me or disagree with me. But that is the basically so far what I've witnessed. But anyways, like this rally, I was a little bit surprised as well, zooming into the daily, and I do see some strength building up. So like we first of all, we got out of the bear flag that we're building that momentum for months. And for the hour side, we haven't closed the daily candle here yet, but looks like we are trying to get out of the resistance. So a resistance on the hour side. So like both is happening. Like if we still manage to close above. So again, like this rectangle I drawn months ago. So this resistance and also this resistance looks like both are breaking out. And that is like a good sign. If this candle managed to close above this rectangle and also above this bear flag, then maybe we'll adjust the calculation on a later stage. But right now, I'm still eyeing on the Bitcoin price and on the daily activity. But anyways, that's pretty much all I want to cover in today's stream. So make sure to give us a follow on X. So my X is jamjamcrypto_io. Make sure to follow Roxham TV as well, because we have regular updates coming out on a regular basis. So covering AI, covering Bitcoin, and also geopolitical news. Point being, there's so much valuable content you probably do not want to miss. So do give us a follow on X. As always, my shows are live here Monday through Friday, starting at 3 a.m. Eastern Time. If you don't manage to catch my shows live, don't worry, the recorded version is also available on both channels. So being Jam Crypto YouTube channel and also Roxham TV channel. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's show.